What's up, guys? It's been a couple of weeks now since the pre-patch 8.0.1 came out, and we're only a few weeks away from BFA coming out. So I wanted to make a video kind of addressing the current state of Holy Paladins, what my thoughts are currently with the gameplay, and the new changes with the talents and the spells and whatnot, and to kind of go over some of the talent changes and my recommendations for what I would currently use in a 5-man group, whether you want to go for more DPS, whether you want to go for more group healing. I also want to cover my recommendations for raiding right now, and a few comments on PvP. But first, I'm going to discuss a little bit of what's been changed. I've already made videos about the Paladin changes. I'll probably link it in the description below. But I'm going to briefly go over it and how it ties into what I think about the current state of Holy Paladins. I'm also going to leave timestamps in the description below, so if you want to skip ahead to something, feel free. Let's think about Holy Paladins for a second here. They've been around since Vanilla WoW, and in every expansion, they've done relatively well. There's always been a need for a Holy Paladin in a raid group. We've gone through many changes over time, and hell, Legion is the first expansion where I've played Holy. I've always been Ret or Prot in the past, so I learned a lot about Holy Paladins throughout Legion, and I look forward to seeing where they're gonna go in BFA. And with this pre-patch, we kind of have an idea of what that's gonna look like. So first of all is the loss of our artifact weapon. I don't think that losing Tyr's Deliverance is going to be a huge impact on our gameplay. In fact, sometimes when I am going through my healing rotation, I found that Tyr's Deliverance kind of interrupted my flow a little bit. It has a long cast time. Sometimes I would forget to cast it at times just because I've been so focused on using Holy Shock on cooldown, or waiting for my Infusion of Light to proc, things like that. Light of Dawn, Flash of Light, Holy Light, like, you know, kind of using the bread and butter spells. And fortunately, we still have all of those spells, and we can continue to incorporate those into our rotation. So taking Tyr's Deliverance out of our rotation isn't going to be a huge impact, I don't think. The only issue that I see is that it lessens our ability to effectively group heal. And that's really going to fortify how we act in a raid group, in my opinion. We're usually known as tank healers with our beacons. We have a lot of single target big heals. Especially now, I think we're going to be heavily relied on to become designated tank healers with those big powerful heals that can get a tank up to full very quickly. That leads me to my next point in raiding. Because we don't have great group healing and AoE heal abilities, HOTS, things like that, we're not going to do well on the healing meters. I've kind of discussed this on my live stream before. I've kind of accepted the fact that I'm not going to be at the top of the healing meters whenever I raid with my guild. What I want to say is, don't worry about the healing meters. If you're in a guild and they're super focused on what your heal per second is, I feel like you should be more focused on your utility in the raid and making sure the tanks don't die. If you feel that you're healing efficiently, you're using all of your abilities to their max potential, you're doing mechanics, everybody in the raid is staying alive, don't worry about the healing meters. You're not going to be at the top of them, especially with the nerf to Aura of Sacrifice, which kind of leads me into my next point. In the past, that was a huge buff to our HPS, but now that Sacrifice has been changed into a damage reduction ability, we really won't be topping those healing meters. So that's the one thing I could say about raiding, guys, is don't pay attention to the meters and just do your job. If you're doing your job efficiently, no one's going to kick you out of the raid. I kind of want to go over what I would recommend as a raid healer. Keeping in mind the whole single target, strong healing ability, I would go with Bestow Faith. Bestow Faith is great to precast on the tanks before a pull. It's good to just cast on the tanks on cooldown. You can kind of set it and forget it. That's how it works. Just remember to keep using it. Light's Hammer, I have run in the past. If you're in a raid group, you're not going to have to worry about AoE healing. That's the job of the priests, druids, monks, shaman, etc. You're really going to want to focus on your big single target heals, and Bestow Faith is really going to help that, especially when you're healing the tanks. Next tier, I would go with Rule of Law for raiding, just because it increases the range of your heals and the reach of your mastery. Cavalier and Unbreakable Spirit, I would say more for Mythic Plus, so for raiding, definitely Rule of Law. Third tier, doesn't really matter, I would say. Blinding Light or Fist of Justice would be great for clearing trash. You're not going to really be doing any crowd control, so you don't really have to worry about Repentance, so I would say either Blinding Light or Fist of Justice, whatever you want. Next tier, well, this is going to be difficult. I don't know yet which aura I'm gonna go with. I think to start out, I might just go with the passive Aura of Mercy, just because it's a passive kind of hot heal that you don't really have to worry about. It's a constant tick. I would like to test out Aura of Sacrifice and Devotion Aura first. Again, because of the way they changed Aura of Sacrifice, I mean, in the past this was a given in raiding, but the fact that they changed it, I'm still on the fence about this, so I'd be curious to hear what you guys think about which aura you would use in raiding at max level in BFA. Next, again, Holy Prism is kind of a group heal. I wouldn't worry too much about that when you're raiding. I would go with either Judgment of Light or Holy Avenger for the extra cooldown. One trick that I like to do, and I don't know if anybody else does this, but I kind of look at Holy Avenger as an extension to your Avenging Wrath. So you cast Avenging Wrath, blah blah blah, 19 seconds, goes all the way down to 0. As soon as Avenging Wrath is off a cooldown, or is finished casting, you can cast Holy Avenger right after. So you can kind of chain them one after the other. This is going to be a toss-up. I wouldn't choose Avenging Crusader because that's kind of like a DPS talent. You could go with Sanctified Wrath. That would make your, what I was just talking about with between Holy Avenger and Avenging Wrath, it makes your Avenging Wrath last longer. So if you want to continue to do that kind of chain one after the other, be more efficient with that, Avenging Wrath will last longer, and that'll extend the duration of your cooldowns between these two abilities. Awakening, I haven't tested out too much. As you guys know, it's inspired from the Topless Tower legendary. Light of Dawn has a 15% chance to grant you Avenging Wrath for 10 seconds. I can't say I've tested it out too much. I like the potential of it if the 15% chance, you know, really works out. It can be a really nice buff to your raid healing. Finally, I would go with Beacon of Faith for raid healing, just so that you could put a beacon on each of the tanks. Now I'm going to go over 5-man talent recommendations, what I think would work out best for that. It really depends what you're looking to do in 5-man group. If you're looking to be more of a DPSer and help out the group with damage, I would go with Crusader's Might. If you're going to be DPSing more, that means you'll be hitting Crusader's Strike hopefully on cooldown, and in turn that'll help with your healing as well, because it reduces the cooldown of Holy Shock and Light of Dawn. Bestow Faith, again, I like to use Bestow Faith in 5-man groups because it works really synergistically with Beacon of Virtue. That's up to you. It will help boost your group healing, so keep that in mind if you want to go more for group healing. Same with Light's Hammer. It's an extra AoE heal ability and does some damage, so I would say Crusader's Might if you're looking to do more damage, Bestow Faith more group healing, Light's Hammer kind of somewhere in the middle. Next tier, you don't really need Rule of Law if you're in a 5-man group. Hopefully you're going to be sticking with your group pretty closely. So I would go with either Cavalier if you guys are moving pretty quickly throughout the dungeon, or Unbreakable Spirit. I'd probably go with Unbreakable Spirit, just because it reduces the cooldown of your, as I like to call them, oh shit buttons. Next again, kind of what I said with raiding. If you're helping a lot with crowd control, Blinding Light is great. Otherwise, Fist of Justice is also good, because Judgment will reduce the cooldown of Hammer of Justice. So this is really good if you're using Hammer of Justice on cooldown, on trash, which will greatly help out your guild. Repentance, take that only if you're going to be expected to be doing some crowd control. As for the auras, I would still go with Devotion Aura. I haven't really tested out Sacrifice yet, so I don't really know how good it's going to be in 5-man groups. So as for right now, I would go with Devotion. Just stick with what we know. Okay, next, again, if you want to go for more AoE heals, since we are lacking Tears Deliverance, I would go with Holy Prism. It does damage and healing. Or again, Holy Avenger's not bad either. It's, as I said earlier, another cooldown, kind of like extending the duration of your Avenging Wrath. Again, if you're gonna be looking to do more damage in the group, I would go with Avenging Crusader. This works with your Crusader Strike and Judgment, increases your damage, things like that. So if you're going for a more damage DPS spec in the 5-man group to help contribute to the damage, Crusader's Might, Avenger Crusader, Fist of Justice works really well too. But again, Sanctified Wrath is also very valuable, extending the duration of Avenging Wrath and reducing the cooldown of Holy Shock, so really up to you. Same with Awakening. It's a 15% chance for Light of Dawn to trigger Avenging Wrath. You're going to be using Light of Dawn on cooldown, hopefully in a 5-man group, so this could turn out to be really valuable in a 5-man dungeon. So this, I would say, is really a toss-up. Do you want an extended Avenging Wrath? Do you want to do more damage? Or do you want a chance that every time you cast Light of Dawn to cast Avenging Wrath? And last but not least, I really like Divine Purpose, but I'm kind of torn that it's in this final tier here, because in 5-man groups, you're really going to want to use Beacon of Virtue if you want to up your group heals, but Divine Purpose is really good when it does proc. It doesn't trigger the cooldown of Light of Dawn or Holy Shock. That could prove to be really useful if you don't have Beacon of Virtue with that group heal. Like, if you're getting a lot of free procs of Light of Dawn, that's going to be really nice. Like, if you were going to pair Light's Hammer with Holy Prism and Divine Purpose, you might find that your group heals aren't bad by missing Beacon of Virtue. I don't know. I'd say you have to test it out and really see what works best for you. So those are my talent recommendation, guys. Like I said, I'm open to hear your opinions on what you guys think you would be using as a Holy Paladin, in what your talents would be for a raid group, as well as what your talents would be for 5-man groups. Let me know in the comments below. And finally, really quickly, guys, I wanted to go over PvP. Now, I haven't PvP'd too extensively since the pre-patch, but I have done a decent amount to notice some of the changes, and I just wanted to talk about that really quickly. With no Tears Deliverance, I don't think that's a big deal, because it was hard to cast Tears Deliverance in PvP without getting interrupted or CC'd, so I don't think that's going to be a huge deal, not having that in Battlegrounds and PvP environments. The one thing that I noticed that really kind of made my gameplay a little awkward was the addition of the global cooldown to Aura Mastery, Holy Avenger, and Avenging Wrath. It kind of made my gameplay feel a little unnatural at first, and a little clunky and unsophisticated, just because you're not used to having those spells on global cooldown. So when you're in PvP, it's very fast-paced, and having to wait that extra 1.5 seconds for the global cooldown to go off kind of interrupted my flow a little bit. So I did want to mention that, and I'm kind of curious to see if anybody else found that to be true as well when you guys PvP'd. So that's really what I wanted to go over, guys, in this video, kind of the state of Holy Paladins right now. Again, I still think that every raid group is going to want to have at least one Holy Paladin, just for our ability to cast really large tank heals, keep the tanks alive, cast those big heals in a quick amount of time. But also we have a lot of utility too. You know, things like Blessing of Sacrifice, Protection, Freedom. Our Cleanse is really great. Our Divine Protection and Divine Shield are really great for survivability. Same thing with Divine Seed, and Hammer of Justice is always great if you're raiding, or if you're raiding and you're on some trash, throw a hammer, see if they're not immune. Every little thing helps the raid out. And just to reiterate, don't worry about the healing meters in Battle for Azeroth, because our group heals got nerfed, and we're not going to be at the top of the healing meters. So keep that in mind when you are raiding, and hopefully your raid leaders will be aware of that as well. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this kind of unscripted commentary on Holy Paladins right now. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. I just moved my live stream to Twitch, so if you guys give me a follow on Twitch, I'd super duper appreciate that. And then you'll be able to see when I go live. You can also sub to the YouTube channel, because I'm going to keep releasing videos on this channel as well, so I'll be active on both platforms. Good luck in Battle for Azeroth, everybody. I'll be live streaming a lot when BFA comes out. I hope to see you guys there. Have a great day.